what I'm hoping will come of this program is I really have this theory that, and maybe it's not. I mean, it's probably not my theory. I've probably gleaned it from someone else. Um, weak people, weak peoples um, end up with weak leaders. It just that's the way it goes, right? Like if you have a weak constitution, you typically end up with leadership that does one of two things. It either mirrors who you are as a people, or it lends itself for some kind of shyster to come in and essentially, make you think that they are mirroring you as a people when really they're just kind of pulling one over on you, right? And the present state of things, not just in the U.S. but throughout the world, is I think we have a plethora of those two things, right? Like, gone are the forthright statesmen of yore that we used to think of as our leadership. Now we have a bunch of grifters and celebutantes and some really evil freaking people that are in the leadership positions. And I really think it comes from that. I use the word weakness. I'm not trying to like talk down on people or anything like that, but the Greek idea of basically what it is to live a good life and to be like a strong individual, right? Is I don't think reflected well in the American people or the people of a lot of the industrialized countries on the planet right now, and I think it reflects itself in its leadership. Am I being a little too harsh there?
I don't think you're being too harsh. I think that it's 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 wise for you to point out. I think that leaders are reflective of the broad amount of society, and the cream rises to the top, and all these types of things, right? And I think, but I do think, I guess, that ultimately we like these people should be irrelevant to our lives.
Yep.
And in most cases they are, if you just like ignore them.
Yep.
Like you're going to ultimately do reasonable things, right? I think that's one thing that annoys me about kind of the rhetoric of the history, right? If you look at the Middle Ages or you look at some other time period, like, wow, like Augustus Caesar was an emperor. He could do whatever he wanted. Like, okay, yeah, but for the average Roman, they could care less who he was, right? Like,
Yep.
not him, right? It doesn't, the normal monarch of the Middle Ages had like absolute power, some people would say, but the average citizen could care less. He didn't have police like going to their house, checking everything they did. Did you, go too fast down the road? Did you do whatever? Like they didn't have that, right? They didn't have prisons for like ever, right? Like until very, very recently, we didn't have prisons. So that's completely a world that no one can imagine, right? Like that. What happens then if you do something wrong or whatever? Like, don't we have to put you in a cell forever? Like, I mean, yeah, and sure, did they use other different punishments and things like that? Sure, they did, right? But it's just very hard for us to get our mind around this idea that, like, people just generally the state, quote unquote, right? The people that had power were just like, yeah, there's not much I can do here, right? Like,
Hmm.
I might want to impose this rule, and I might even say this is the rule, but there's really not much I can do about that, right? Other than to say that I think this is what should happen.
Yeah. Yeah. And that the other aspect of that is like, say you are an upstart, right? Like, say you didn't toe the company line, say that you didn't drink the Kool-Aid, right? Um, and you look at the leadership and you're like, these guys aren't doing well, right? Uh, you have to have the standing or the rapport or that kind of like forthright nature to be able to call someone out, and not be a hypocrite for it, right? Like, you can't be the drunk calling out someone else for over drinking, right? Like, you can't be that person. And so that's something else I hope that we get out of this is, and by we I mean I myself would like to become a stronger individual, and hopefully as we talk through our kids' education, hopefully as we talk through aspects of maybe self-sustaining food development and being able to grow your own food, or 3D printing technology, or decentralized finance and everything that comes with that. As we talk through all these myriad of issues of being able to kind of like stand on your own 2 feet, I hope it helps people develop tools and resources and skills so that the name of the show is freaking ungovernable, right? And it's not, nihilistic zombie apocalypse, end of the world, we all kill each other, right? Like, that's not what it's called. It's called ungovernable from the standpoint of, if you, like, people are always going to have leaders. But if you choose to follow a leader, how do you know a good leader from a crappy one? Well, if you yourself are a crappy person, okay, you're not going to be able to determine between the two. And so, really, that's the point of it, is to develop those skill sets and those tools to say, you know what, I can opt out when I want to. I have the ultimate ability to opt out from the system. But if I do choose to participate in any kind of organized system, I'm participating from a standpoint where I actually have some leverage, I have some knowledge, I have some standing to be able to make a really accurate determination of, what's positive and what's going to be negative in my decision making. And hopefully don't end up falling prey to demagogues who make you think that they're the alpha when truthfully all they are is, someone who's trying to take advantage of you. So